everybody. Welcome to Summit. Happy New Year. Pretty sure it's the year 2022, although COVID makes me think it might be the year 2020. So welcome back to the future. We're excited to be together today. I am very sad that it's me standing here in front of a screen and not in person with all of you over here. We'd love for you guys to turn on your cameras unless you're in a spot where you shouldn't have your camera on. We don't want to go that far back into 2020. But we're excited to be together for Summit, that we can have everybody together again today to talk about stuff. We would like to thank Inspiro. They do a lot for this company. They make a lot of our events happen. They support us in a bunch of different ways. And I'd like to turn some time over to Christopher Jensen. He's the CEO of Inspiro Financial to share some stuff with us.
Thank you, Sam. Hope you can all hear me okay. Hear me okay, Sam? Thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Yes, all right.
I can't.
Not sure you can see me, but that's okay. Want to welcome everyone to 2022. Happy New Year to all of you. I feel a little naked. We've been doing these summits in California lately, and we typically have Kendall Baker, our amazing manager, there up dancing for all of us, and so I miss her right now. I need her dancing in front of the screen. But we're super excited to be part of Summit and grateful to be here. Won't spend too much time. A few things I wanted to go over with you today. You know, you've all probably seen that Matt Damon commercial the last couple of months that he does for crypto.com, where he ends the commercial by saying, you know, fortune favors the brave, if you recall that. And I love that saying, and it's very applicable to being a loan officer and also a real estate agent. You got to be brave to be a real estate agent and a loan officer, because you have to do some pretty tough things as far as bad news, changes, price reductions, etc. You got to be brave, and you're going to need to be brave in 2022. You know, 2021 was a great year as far as sales were concerned, a record year across the country, over $1.6 trillion in real estate sales this last year. 2022 projections could be similar, if not exceeding that. So it's a great year, but it's still going to be a challenge. We're still struggling with some inventory levels, as you all know, and we also have a rising interest rate environment. That's a term that many of you maybe have never heard before, maybe never in your life have heard before, particularly you younger agents and loan officers. A rising interest rate environment. We're starting to see interest rates rise a little bit, and that's probably going to continue throughout the year. So to be a brave loan officer and agent, you've got to be very direct and honest with your clients, set proper expectations, and you're probably going to have to hustle a little bit more this year to get that business. So just a few thoughts for the year. Now, if you can go to the next slide, we want to introduce a few new fantastic loan officers that have joined our team. We have Kathy Castle, Taylor Bagley, and Lisa Maybe. These are all fantastic agents here in our Salt Lake City office. We couldn't be more thrilled to have them and want to welcome them, and hopefully you'll get a chance to see them and work with them through some deals this year. If you go to the next slide. We want to let you know we're having our second Inspiro Spa Day. This is in Utah only. Sorry, California. This is in Utah only. Our second spa day that we've done this before. It's this Friday on the January 15th. If you go to the next slide there, you'll see some pictures from last time, some of our favorite participants. We're doing a spa day right here in our office. We'll do some nose waxing. Sam may need another nose waxing there as well as Jay. A brow wax and a brow tint for those that would like to do it. We've got some great people that do it here in our office, Cynthia DeYoung and Diane Bowen. It'll be from 9 to 2 this Friday for those of you that would like to come down and get some of the spa treatment. There is a link that we'll put in the chat. We'll also send out for you to sign up. These are 15-minute sessions, but just a little love for those of you that want to get some treatment here this Friday between 9 and 2. Let's go to the next slide if we can. You know, we're all about in helping you in your business and helping you grow and improving your marketing and being able to be more successful and get more deals in the door. And we have some really cool tools that help you do that don't cost you anything, that provide some awesome things for you. One's called HomeBot, one's List Reports, and one's our Pronto mobile app. We're going to talk more about each of these over the next couple of months, the next few months. These are fantastic tools that you really ought to be using if you're not. If you go to the next slide, today I want to spend just a few minutes about HomeBot. HomeBot is a tool for buyers to be able to track their homes, to be able to see what's happening in the market in relationship to their home. Can you go to the next slide for me if you could? It's something that Sam can speak to this. He gets to it. I always point to him as an example. He gets it and loves it. And what it is, it's like a monthly report card on your home. And it tells you what the value of your home's doing, if it's gone up or down, if you're in a good spot interest rate wise, if you want to rent it out as an Airbnb, if you want to rent it out as a rental, if you want to try to sell it. And what it does, it just allows you to really explore the market, look at price points, look at your home as a real financial investment. And it's a co-branded item that allows you as the realtor to be able to track your clients, what they're doing, the kind of information that they're wanting to look at, keeps you in the loop as they get on this website. The nice thing about this website, unlike other things, this has a 60 to 70% click rate, meaning people that get this, 60 to 70% of them open it up and look at the report card of their home, and your information is there. You're right in front of them, so it can help you generate more leads, more prospects. It's super easy to set up. Our marketing team can help you do that, as well as Jennifer Morris. So if it's something that you'd like to start using, which we highly encourage you to do, again, there's no cost for you. It's one of these great services that we provide. We have an information link that we'll also post in the chat box, but also we'll send out. But you can always reach out to any of our loan officers or to Jennifer Morris in Utah, or to Kendall Baker in California, our dance guru. And she can help you with any of these things getting set up. But we want to talk to you more about this. We're gonna highlight each of these marketing systems in the coming months that help you as the realtor get more business, stay in front of your clients, provide real value to do the things that you need to be doing, which is out there and getting more deals and closing more transactions. So have a fantastic 2022. We couldn't be more proud and honored to be part of the Evers family. We're here to help you. We hope we can get to do more business with you and help you in any way we can in your life. And with that, we'll turn it back to you, Sam. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Christopher. I don't know how I had the biggest waxing picture of anybody, but a nose wax is very refreshing. So if you're not going to the forecast breakfast, the economic forecast breakfast in Utah, go down and get your, although I was told I was getting my eyebrows tinted, and then they pulled all my nose hair out. It was unfair. And then HomeBot. HomeBot is awesome. You should absolutely go down and talk to Inspiro, or talk to your Inspiro rep about HomeBot. Marketing, email marketing, a big metric is click-through rate, meaning how many people actually clicked on the email to look at what's being provided. I click through every single month I get that HomeBot email, because it's really interesting to see what they think my house is worth. So go talk to them about that. It's a really awesome marketing tool with a very high click-through rate. Okay, enough of an advertisement for HomeBot. We would like to welcome our newest agents. We've got Jeremy Mora, Nancy Treichler, Brandon Ramey, Tammy Wormsley, Chris Shirtliff, Aubrey Ziemba, Kristen Passy, Lindsay Jacobs, Jessica Andreessen, Heaven Bassett, Nicole Stevens, Joaquin Torres, and Joel Chacon. If we were in the room together, I'd say stand up, but if your camera's on, stand up, and we'll all celebrate you anyway. So welcome to the team. We're excited to have you. We would like to, I have control. Jeez Louise. Here we go. We would like to congratulate our employee of the fourth quarter, Debbie Moreno from All Valley Escrow. She is an escrow assistant on Tina Patronette's team in the Simi Valley office. She is awesome. In the words of her coworkers, she is super special in a special kind of way, but she is a team player. She is so caring and so generous. She's really the go-to person at that office if you need something done. We love you, Debbie, and congratulations on being the employee of the quarter. And in other sad news, we'd also like to wish Debbie Moreno a happy retirement. She entered the escrow world 45 years ago. To give you guys a sense for how long she's been in the business, that was the year I was born. It was also the year the Doobie Brothers released Taking It to the Street. So Debbie has literally been in escrow my entire life. We got to know Debbie when we bought All Valley Escrow, April 20th, 2016. And since then, we have just grown to love her. She brings a lot of color to the office. She really brings a great energy, a great spirit. And you know, she works really, really, really hard for you agents and your clients and to get escrows done. I think a lot of times you look at an assistant and say, hey, that job's really cush. It's not. She works really hard every day, comes in and makes it happen. And she is behind the scenes making the magic happen. You know, they say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Debbie is finishing strong. She is really leaving on a high. We'd like to thank you, Debbie, for your years of service. We are so excited for you in your next phase. We are going to miss you so, so much. And we wish you the best of luck as you enter retirement at the, I guess, next month, starting February 1. So thank you, Debbie, for everything. All right. We'd like to thank our partners. At One Team, Russ, it's not working. We'd like to thank our One Team partners, All Valley Escrow, and Sparrow Financial, North Star Title, and Seller's Choice NHD. They do a lot for us as a company. They're there to support us and help us, you know, and we are really focused around One Team on making sure that the consumer's experience is the best possible home buying experience they can have. So thank you, One Team partners. In Utah, we'd like to announce and congratulate our new principal broker, Rob Oakey. Some of you have met Rob. He's one of the OGs of Everest. He was there when George talks about 5 guys sitting at a table. He was one of the 5 people at that table. I've known Rob for a long time. He was one of the first people I met at Everest. He started by asking me a question he told me that no attorney could answer, and then asked me the question anyway. So he knows how to put the heat on when he needs to. But Rob has been around since the beginning. He has done a great job of protecting the company and is now assuming head and lead of the risk management team in Utah as our principal broker. Thank you, Rob. We're really excited to have you assume that role. I personally, he's one of my favorites, so I'm excited to have him there. We've got some save the dates. First one, we've got Climb coming up from Everest Coaching, formerly known as Everest Sales System. It's January 25th through 27th. We've got a lineup of really incredible speakers and presenters who will be there to inspire us, to help us improve our business, to become better people, to be more centered, and be ready to rock and roll in this new year. We've got this next slide is the QR code. Make sure you take a picture. There you go. It's on your screen. Get your phones out and take a picture of that QR code to get registered. We will be live for Climb. We have verified that today, so we're excited to see everybody there for Climb. All right, we've got our 2021 awards summits coming up. In Utah, February 8th, it's going to be at the Awaken Center. For those of you who have been there, it's the place with the windows, not the cave. In California, we're going to be back at the Marriott Courtyard in Agora Hills, or as I like to call it, my home in California. We're excited. We do plan on being live in February, so stay healthy and get ready to get together and celebrate the awards from this past year. In Utah, the Everest Community Foundation will be hosting another blood drive. They did one for Halloween. Now they're doing it for Valentine's Day, so you can share a little of your blood with those in need. It will be hosted at the Union Park office on the 6th floor, February 10th. From 11 to 4, there's another QR code, so get your phones back out to take a picture of that to get registered to give blood. All right, Everest Coaching has another prospecting school coming up. These are highly successful. I think I've only heard of one agent who didn't set any appointments, but they came out of it understanding why. And everyone else that I've talked to has had great success setting appointments and ramping up their business at these prospecting schools. Totally worth the $395, the low price of $395. There are limited seats available. They do sell out, so get registered soon. Contact Judy at everestcoaching.com to register for prospecting school. Next up, March 23rd to 26th, we have 121. This is the Century 21 Global Convention. They don't like to call it a convention, so they call it an experience. It will be at Caesars Forum, which is near Caesars Palace and the Link. March 23rd through 26th. This is where people receive their big awards, and right now Everest has many people tracking to be #1 in their categories. So come and celebrate them, engage in the learning sessions. It's a great opportunity. So again, that's March 23rd through 26th. You should have all gotten emails from Century 21 directly. You can register with them for that event. We hope to see you there. All right, Top Producers Trip coming up in Hawaii, April 2nd through the 9th. The year has ended, for those of you who don't know that. So it's too late to qualify now. But for those of you who did qualify, make sure you RSVP. We'd like to hear from you by Friday. The spots are filling up very quickly. We have a lot of requests for special accommodations. I know Danette is working really hard. She didn't realize that when we hired her as our marketing director, she would also be our travel agent. But she's working really hard to fulfill everybody's wants and needs. But RSVP by Friday so we can make sure we get things on track. All right, let's talk about anniversaries from the fourth quarter. For 5 years in California, we have Rebecca Ruberg, we have Donna McGuire, Ernest Coronado, Vicente Arzate, Joanne Ferguson Watoa, and Richard Brennis. Congratulations on 5 years with the company, and thank you for your service. In Utah, we've got John Butterfield, Eric Jones, Mike Stengel, Doug Orchard, and Amaria Masi. Thank you so much for your service. We hope there's another 5, 10, 15, 20 more that we can work together. 10 years in California, we've got Stan Patrick, Ricardo Garceduenas, and Alex Megadushian. Thank you. 10 years is a great milestone. We love working with you guys. And then if you thought 10 was a lot, let's try 20. 20 years out of California with Sandy Rudder and Deborah Tyhurst. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your service over the last 20 years.
Hey Sam, we have a little video long shot.
Oh, there's a video. I'm being told we're going to video break, commercial break. All right. Megadushian, Alex Megadushian, Afifa Rafik, Gordon Deutsch. None of that, but I saw my picture. I'm a little nervous. So let's talk about quarterly award winners. $25,000 in the last quarter. Peggy Orafice, Michelle Duncan, Irma Ottergeen, Leslie Kruzberger, Robin Karsich, Jeff Rosenblum, Troy Marcus, Pete Delgado, Helene Keddington, Monica Amesqua, Cecilia Lewis, Jesus Languren, Stan Patrick, Donna McGuire, Maria Martinez, Dan Simone, Linda Berg, the Zell Group, Dale King and Stuart Monteith, Mike and Kristen Plisky and Associates, Christine Ashton, Jenny Arana, Lena Kalbach, Rebecca Ruberg, Gabby Espinosa, Elizabeth Everson, Monica Meza, Blake Mashburn, Holly Kraszewski, Stacy Franco, Kathleen Lem, Jennifer McAllister, Fernando Gutierrez, Art Perez, Gavin Lynn, Tracy Baldwin Mahone, Julie McDaniel, Jessica Miller, Lupe Servin, and Nina Paraderij. Thank you and congratulations on 25,000. We've got more 25,000 people. You guys are killing it. Richardson's RE. Sterling Satterfield, Swen Nielsen, Dallin Jolly, Ruby Reese, Sherry Peck, Quincy Beach, Jeremy Davis, Alan Bernstein, Alan Kantarovich, Jennifer Langford, June Foucault, Aja Domingo, Michelle Dart, TC Realty Group, Brandon McBride, Kathleen Hartshorn, Dan Munch, Marissa Sugi, Aaron Oldham, Casey Anderson, Kenneth Bell, Robert Naylor, Sean Mangone, Edgar Arbayo, Mike Harris, Phil Harvey, Anna Buckley, Lance Gummersall, Nathan Speaker, Blake Dellinger, Keith Munden, Cody and Martha Emery, Morgan Lang, Abraham Pedraza, Jennifer Aguilar, Heather Pappas, Sean Hilton, Josh Bingham, Galen Wagstaff, Nicole Tippett, David Brown, Ella Frischknecht, Tanya Satterfield, Zachary Baker, Jesse Olds, Jay Lobdell, Tuan Yo, Chantel Flanders, Rebecca Marshall, Ethan Harris, Brandon Danes, Rita Weddle, Bethany Zarbach, Christine Graham, Lourdes Brinton, Aaron Richardson, Nikolai Borba, Bowman Liu, Alicia Vera, Michael Brand, Barbara Morley, Steve Schoonover, Jill Wilson, John Butterfield, Mark Apuna, Stephanie Johnson, Allison Brown, Brooke Barney, Liz Hall, Brianna Burnett, Melanie Velasco, Carlos de la Cruz, Monty Johnson, Brooke Draper, Justin Turkansky, Aaron Edson, Kenneth Christian, Kyle Noel, Patrick Day, Tim Long, and Dylan Murdoch. Congratulations on $25,000 in commissions in last quarter. Then we got $50,000. Carla de la Cruz, Afifa Rafiq, Scott Puckett, Gordon Deutsch, Stuart Monteith, Jesse Unsworth, Brianne Steen, Richard Brennis, Rita Silva, Deborah Poole, Jeff Riggs, Vicky Petty, Maggie McKinney, Anna Gill, Ken Wallace, Debbie Curran, Debbie Nickel, Maria Nolan. We got more. Josh Johnson, Tyson Craig, Tracy Sierra, Boren for Real Estate, Jeanette Davis, Lou Tran, Brady Boren, Aaron Christensen, Stephen Evans, Jose Ruiz, Castaneda Team, Brian McKinnon, Steve Henriot, Aaron Mailer, Steve Boynton, Aaron Pearson, Team Seat, Stephanie Barnes, Dan Brummer, DNL Realty, Elizabeth Lee, Locate Utah Homes, Cobb Malik, Carlin Bedwell, Mindy Daly, Hillary Wade, Drew Gingell, Delphine Accord, Jeff Laguerre, Tiffany Davidson, Robert Widener, Aaron Moore, Rebecca Rodriguez, Dakota Murdoch, Ruth Wilkie, Leah Kruger, Samuel Tate, Alex Nickel, Brandon Newell, and Miriam Drury. Congratulations on $50,000 last quarter. Oh, people are clapping. All right, $75,000. Tim Hall, Lisa Kozin, Gail Coy, Shannon Porter, Deborah Delaney, Rosie Wilcox, Wen Fernandez, Christine Headley, Andrea Roeder, Leslie Matsucci, Beatrice Lopez, and more. Joanna Williams, Alicia Davis, Brandon Johnson, Rich Warren, Chad Morris, Linda Martinez, April Oakes, John DeYoung, Deanna Haskett, Michelle Chadwick, Barry Rulander, Fitzgerald Team, Will Walk, Cassie Montano, Chad Wagstaff, Giselle Secretan, Sylvia Perkins, Mike Stengel, Y. Vasquez, Brenda Lee Jones, Jason Snell, Jason West, Lillian Lobos, Evan Child, Hanan Majid, and Jessica Terry Schneider and team. Congratulations on $75,000 in the last quarter. People say nobody buys in the fourth quarter. They're nuts. Look at all these names. All right, $100,000. Ken Gretsch, Mike Gratlin, Christy Ruckert, Lixon Durborough, Phil Hendricks, Sandy Rudder, and Debbie Briscoe. Amy Clark, Angie Sargent, Barton Team, Joshua Wagstaff, Castaigne Team, Adam Durfler, Jay Bentley, Jennifer Merrill, Chris Armstrong, Doug Carey, and Fred Law. Congratulations on $100,000. We've got a team, we got a couple of teams that did $100,000 last quarter. Uinta Basin Real Estate, the Child Team, and View Utah Homes. And in California, we've got Arzate and Associates and the Ramos Group. Congratulations, teams, on $100,000 production this last quarter. Now we got $125,000. Mike Hancock, Zachary Bunker, Nikki Nunez, Heather Mercer, Tyler Higgins, the Merrill Group. Got to turn the page here. Too many people. You guys are killing it. Got La Chinita Team at $125,000. Trish Perez and Associates at $125,000. Congratulations to all of you that did $125,000 last quarter. Judy Lewicki, $150,000. Perry Ward, Dave Parker, and Rich Castleberry at $150,000. I heard Rich say he's going to do $1 million this year. So, Rich, that was good, but it's 100 less than you need to do to hit your $1 million. We've got Utah Homes Live, $150,000. Congratulations to all of you who did $150,000 last quarter. Very impressive. $175,000. We've got Robbie Starr and Veronica Salazar. Great work. $200,000. Dave Clough, Mike Cottle. Excellent. Oh, we got one out of order, I think. Utah Listing Search did $175,000 last quarter. Whew, these names, so many names. Good thing I warmed up, right? $200,000. Judy Ohako, congratulations, very impressive. Luxuriant Real Estate, great job, Luxuriant team. $225,000, we have the Noel Group. Great job, Brian Ruthan. Excellent work. We have Best Homes of Utah. Saw a bunch of those people on the producers list that I read before. We have Utah Listing Pros. So many people. That's awesome. Congratulations on $225,000. $250,000. We have Kathleen Bruno. Good job, Kathleen. Amber Milton. Great job, Amber. We have Traverse Advisors. Good job, Traverse. Congratulations on $250,000 in production. $275,000 keeps going up. There was a time when I would be done by now. You guys are doing a great job. Kay Wilson Bolton, $275,000. Justin Udy, $275,000.
Nice.
Great job. $300,000. Austin Kales. Congratulations, Austin. $300,000. Great way to finish the year. And again, I'm going to go back to our PSA. This is either a PSA for a missing person, or we're excited to announce that Kurt Matz did $350,000 last year. Kurt, congratulations. For those of you who don't know, Kurt's a staple of our Utah commercial team. But man, we got to get a new picture. But congratulations, I know. The Luxury Agency, $350,000. Great job, luxury team. Team Kruger, $350,000. Congratulations, you guys are killing it, all of you. All right, and the next level, $400,000. Utah Best Real Estate. Congratulations. They got a new team photo. Looking good up on the parking garage. Okay, $500,000, the Justin Udy team. Congratulations, Justin Udy and team in real estate. $525,000, the Josh Johnson team. And yes, he does wear a pink suit to his closings. All right, the next level is a big bump, $700,000 last quarter. Brian Burnett, congratulations. Tina Hare and Associates, congratulations. Those are huge numbers you guys are doing. So good job. $900,000, the Elite team. I heard a woo. I heard a woo from somewhere in the building. Good job, Elite team. $925,000, View Utah Listings.
Wow.
Way to go, Austin and team. Way to beat Dave. I think we're all getting tired of Dave sitting at the top. So. Take that. Awesome. Congratulations to all you guys. It's really fun. It's really fun, hard for me to stand here and read all of those names, but we love it. You guys are doing amazing work. That was the fourth quarter. I hear over and over, nothing happens in the fourth quarter. That's a total lie, and you guys are proving it. So good work. Keep up the good work rolling into the first quarter of this year. Cannot wait to be with you again and have to warm up on your names again in a quarter. So, all right, we'd like to announce our summit speakers for today. We've got Pierre Le Pew Pew, John Syatt, and George is rocking a really sweet beauty mark. John's caricature was done by the owner of the building we're standing in right now. And I said, boy, Tom, you made him look like a villain. And he looked at me with a smirk and said, I know. So, John, we're kicking it over to you.
Sam, thank you so much. I don't think I've ever looked any better. So that's great. Thanks to Tom. So that is fantastic. Now I just need to brush up on my French. Great job, by the way, everybody. That fantastic numbers. It's crazy because I look at those numbers and I know that many of those are the best that those individuals or teams have done in their careers, which is absolutely outstanding. I just want to give a special shout out to the All Valley Escrow team. I see the gang sitting there. Thank you for joining us. You know, I'm going to say this in behalf of all the agents here in California. With everything that's been going on with the pandemic and the way that you as a team have been affected, specifically with all the restrictions, the mandates, and then just the impact in terms of the health impact and how that's impacted your ability on a daily basis to be in the office and interact. And yet you had the best year that All Valley Escrow has ever had. So I just want to recognize all of you for that and let you know how grateful George is, Sam, Kim, Kendall, please, thank you as well. I know that she's proud of the team, but also Kendall, very proud of you as well for the role that you played. And I am very, very grateful. So great job to the All Valley Escrow team. And of course, congratulations to all of the agents in California for everything that you accomplished in the fourth quarter and also All Valley Escrow in 2021. So gang, here's my message. I want to talk today about the way we see things. I think it's very important that we acknowledge that concept, the way we see things. So if you're taking notes, and I hope that you are, just write down this phrase. When I change the way that I see things, the things that I look at change. When I change the way that I see things, the things that I look at change. And it's a very powerful statement. And I just want you to think about the impact that I can have. You know, Einstein said, probably arguably, if not the most intelligent person to ever exist, arguably one of the most intelligent, he was quoted as saying this: the most important decision that we make is whether we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. Let me repeat what he said. The most fundamental decision that we have to make, the most important decision we have to make, is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. So the question is, which is it for you? Really think about that. As you exist on a day-to-day basis, as you interact with people in traffic, or you interact with people in this business, whether it's your counterparts in a transaction or clients, buyers, and sellers, how are you looking at the world? What is the lens with which you look at the universe? Is it friendly or is it hostile? What was Einstein's point? Why would he ask that question? Why would he make that statement? I believe that we all have a blueprint, or I guess more specifically, a lens through which we see the world. And so my question for you is this: what is your blueprint? Or what is the lens through which you see the world, or you see other people, or you see situations? Let me give you, I think, a fun example of this. I have a very close friend. And years ago, he used to work at Starbucks when he was young and in college. And he shared with me that one day, as he was having a particularly challenging day, a woman walked into the store and she was very put together. I mean, dressed to the nines, and a very beautiful woman, long hair that had been put together by a hairstylist. And the clothes that she was wearing, you could tell that the most expensive that you could buy. I mean, it was very complimentary in the way she presented herself. The jewelry she had on, the watch that she had on, you could see that she was very successful. And what was interesting to him is that she was wearing a pair of glasses. And immediately he judged her. He thought, well, look at this woman. She thinks she's better than everybody else coming into a store wearing sunglasses. And so when she approached and ordered her double latte, frappe thing, whatever it is that you order at Starbucks, her expensive drink, her $10 coffee, he said to her, yeah, it's really dark in here, isn't it? And he was really making a snide comment because he was irritated that she was wearing sunglasses in a Starbucks cafe or coffee shop. Well, she very quickly, profusely apologized. She took the glasses off for a second. She said, you know, I'm sorry. I just had glaucoma surgery and my eyes are very sensitive to the light. And that's why I'm wearing the sunglasses. And of course, as you might imagine, immediately he felt horrible. He apologized profusely to the woman. But we were having a conversation about this, about the way we look at people specifically. But it got me thinking. I thought, that's such a great story and a great example of how we can wear a lens that colors the way that we see people or the way that we see the world. It was probably about 3 years ago. I was at an intersection in Simi Valley in Ventura, California, for those of you in Utah. Of course, those of you in California know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was right on Madeira and LA Avenue. And it was in the morning, and I was headed to the Wood Ranch office. And there was a lot of traffic. And there was this huge Class A motorhome. The thing was, I don't know, probably 45 feet. It was huge, could have been 50 feet, but it was big. It was basically a bus conversion. And there was a gentleman who was probably 65 years old who was driving this thing. And as the light had changed for him from a green then to a yellow, it turned to a red, and he was still trying to go through the intersection. And I was mesmerized by this huge bus that he was driving and how shiny it was and how gorgeous it was. I mean, because it was like a work of art. I mean, for a kid that grew up in trailers, I was fascinated to see something that was on wheels that looked so good. And this guy's having to navigate this monster through this intersection with all of this traffic. And I just thought to myself, God bless him for doing this thing. And my first thought was, I wonder what he does to afford something like that, because this thing had to be $1.5 million, $2 million. And then the second thought that I had was, I wonder how long he's been driving this thing, because it does not look like it's very easy to drive. And then the next thing that happened, I watched the people around me who were being obstructed by this guy trying to go through the intersection, like absolutely freak out, like honking their horns, trying to move forward when obviously they couldn't, because this big motorhome bus was blocking the intersection. But these people were freaking out because this guy was impeding their progress. And I thought to myself, it's interesting what's going through their mind. What are they perceiving here? Because obviously they were thinking about something different than I was. They were asking different questions than I was, and they were certainly seeing different things than I was, because some of them were very angry. I heard one guy next to me roll down his window and say some things to this guy. And I just thought it was very interesting. So again, I go back to that opening statement of, when I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. I just wonder if those people who were in traffic had maybe asked the same sort of questions that I did, how their experience would have been different. Or going back to that friend of mine who was at Starbucks, as a young man, and very quickly judging this woman for walking in with sunglasses, had maybe asked different questions of himself, and used a different lens, and really had a different blueprint on the way he was seeing things, how his experience would have been different. Now, you might think that this is a gimmick to say, well, when I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change, but it really isn't. I mean, that's a pretty fundamental statement. I think it's a very powerful one. I want you to imagine this. Some of you have heard this, I guess, analogy or allegory, that imagine that I'm in my house, and I just walked into my house, and it's late at night, and I've got my keys in my hand, and I'm walking through the living room and to get to the light, and I stumble on something that's on the floor, and I trip and I drop my keys, and I hear them kind of like hit and then roll, and I go to the light switch, and the light switch doesn't work. I flip it up and down several times and it doesn't work. And it's very dark and I can't see my keys. So I get down on my hands and knees looking for my keys. And for about 60 seconds, 90 seconds, I'm looking for my keys and I can't find my keys. And it's dark and I can't turn on the light because the lights are out, the power is out. And I'm on my hands and knees and I look up and I'm at windowsill height at my window that looks out to the street. And I see that on the street, the lamppost for my street is on, it's working. So I have this idea, I'm gonna go outside. I go outside and I'm looking under the lamppost for my keys. No, you're laughing and you're saying, well, this doesn't make any sense, but hold on. I'm looking for my keys. And my neighbor walks up and he sees me looking for my keys and he says, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm looking for my keys. And so he's looking around and he asked me a fundamental question. He said, so, well, where were you when you dropped them? And I said, well, I was in my living room. And he looks at me and says, you were in your living room. Why are we out here looking for your keys if you dropped them in the living room? And I say to him, well, because this is where the light is. This is where I can see. Now, again, gang, you may say, well, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense. But isn't that what we do? See, we look outside instead of inside for the things fundamentally that need to change or that we need to focus on. I'm going to say that again. We have a tendency to focus on the outside for the things that fundamentally we should be looking for on the inside. Now, I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning when I congratulated the gals at All Valley Escrow, or all of you agents who had phenomenal quarters, a quarter in the fourth quarter, the last quarter of the year. Many of them had their best quarter ever. All Valley Escrow had their best year ever. And we could say arguably in one of the worst possible case scenarios, with the pandemic going on, inflation, all the challenges that are around, politics that are going on, just looking externally and saying, gosh, how was that possible? Well, I think it's possible because those people exemplify this idea that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change, that the lens by which we see things allows us to either be successful or to not be successful. That when we look outside of ourselves for solutions or for blame, more specifically, well, it's because of the pandemic that I didn't or couldn't, or it's because of inflation that I can't or won't, or it's because of a low inventory in the marketplace that it's not possible. See, all of those phrases or thoughts are external. In other words, looking outside of ourselves. And gang, I'm not immune to this. I'll give you an example. I flunked out of 9th grade English. I got 4 straight Fs. And I fundamentally believed it was Mr. G's fault. It was Mr. G's fault that I flunked out of 9th grade English. I flunked out of law school. And I will tell you that fundamentally, I believed it was because my grandfather died 2 weeks before he and I were scheduled to go on a trip to take me to Alabama, to get me acclimated, get me set up so that I could start my 3-year law school career. But because he died, I flunked out of law school. In 2009, I lost everything. And I lost everything, at least as far as I was concerned, because my friend Bassam convinced me that I should build a home next to him in Park City in Glenwild during an economic collapse. It was his fault that I had lost everything. And it was because everything had collapsed that I had lost everything. In other words, I flunked out of 9th grade English, I flunked out of law school, and I lost everything in 2009, not because of me, but because of external forces. Mr. G was at fault, my grandpa's death was at fault, and Bassam for convincing me to build a home in an economic collapse was his fault. Now, what's my point? Do you want better results? Would you like better results in 2022? Would you like a better experience? Then I guess I would suggest is that we have to take responsibility. So I want you to just pause for a second, because I know I've been going 100 miles an hour. I want you to think about your blueprints. So I want you to write down 3 words. The first word that I want you to write down is relationships. Just write down the word relationships. The second word that I want you to write down is health. And then the last word that I want you to write down is finances, or if you want to, in parentheses, write down business. Or you could write down business if you want to. So relationships, health, and business. Now, I just want you in each of those three categories, I just want you to take 15 to 20 seconds with each one of those. So for the next minute or so, minute and a half, I want you to write down what you believe your fundamental blueprint is, or your lens through which you see those things or saw those things over the last 12 months in 2021. Just think about the lens with which you are operating, that you operated in 2021 relative to your health, to your relationships, and to your business. And as I ask that question, I hope that you're beginning to think and starting to write down those things. But I just, as you think about that and you're writing this down, I just want to jog your memory. If you had your best year ever, why? What do you attribute that to? If you were struggling and it was one of your more difficult years, why? What do you attribute that to? In other words, what justification are you coming up with that determines in your mind the reason for that result, that dictates that result? What is it that is your blueprint or your lens with which you are conducting yourself in any of those three categories? See, when I flunked out of law school, my blueprint or my lens was that if you lose a family member and you're away from home for the first time ever, that you certainly can't be successful and stay focused and attentive in law school. And it's okay to feel the way that you feel and disengage and therefore flunk out. Now, I'm not here to say that if we get bad results that we should beat ourselves up. I'm not, because bad things happen to good people. And there are things ultimately that are out of our control. But what I'm suggesting is that we recognize what is within our control. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm suggesting, is that ultimately we take responsibility. See, the good news and the bad news is that the lens with which we see the world is ultimately our responsibility. The good news is that we can change it. The bad news is we can choose not to change it. The good news is that we can adopt a blueprint that allows us to be successful. See, I grew up in a household where money wasn't necessarily a good thing, that those who had money oftentimes were looked at as suspicious, as being people that you couldn't necessarily trust, that they didn't get it necessarily by working an honest day's work. See, what is your blueprint when it comes to money? What is your blueprint when it comes to relationships? What is your blueprint when it comes to health? You know, I hear oftentimes, you know, when I was growing up, I remember my grandfather saying to my mom, his daughter, that she should take better care of herself. That my mom, for the vast majority of my life, she was overweight. And I remember my grandfather being concerned about my mom's health because she did suffer from high blood pressure and she did have some heart issues, and he was concerned about her health. And as he would express those concerns to her, my mom's response was, well, I'm just big boned, which was very interesting. And as I look back on that, of course, let's be honest, my mom wasn't big boned. It was that my mom had certain beliefs and habits that led to her being overweight. And so that as I grew up, of course, I adopted many of those thought patterns. And for several years, I was overweight. You know, and it wasn't until I acknowledged in my own mind that, well, wait a minute. Is that really true? Is it that because my mom was big boned, right, that somehow I've gotten those genes, that's the way that I am, and therefore I'm overweight? And of course, the answer is no. See, gang, our principles, our philosophies, and our standards are things that we can change. See, we can take responsibility for what they are. what I would challenge you to believe is this, that the results that you got in 2021, whether they were great, they were average, or they were below what you wanted or expected, or they were below average, is that ultimately those things came as a result of your principles, philosophies, and standards. In other words, your blueprint, because your blueprint really is that. It's the principles and philosophies and standards by which you conduct yourself, you act on a daily basis, the way you interpret things, the way you see things, the way you judge somebody who's driving a Class A motorhome driving through an intersection, or a woman walking in with a pair of sunglasses on, or a ninth grade English teacher that you can't stand who's responsible for your Fs that you're getting. In other words, our principles, philosophies, and standards very directly dictate the outcomes that we get. So the question that I would ask you is, going back to your blueprints for those three categories, how are they serving you? See, for a lot of you, you're going to answer that your blueprints or your lenses are serving you very well. I mean, I take a look at so many of those people who did 250, 275, 500,000, 900,000 in a quarter. It tells me, at least as it relates to business, that they have a very powerful blueprint. It's unquestionable they have a very powerful blueprint, because you don't get results like that by accident. So go back to your blueprints. Identify number one. How do you change your blueprints? Well, first of all, you have to identify what they are. What are your blueprints? And that's why I asked you a few minutes ago to identify what they are in each of those three categories. And ask yourself this question: are they serving me? Again, this requires that you have to be honest with yourself to take responsibility. And sometimes that's not an easy thing to do. It was not an easy thing for me to admit that, John, it is your responsibility. Bassam didn't force you to build that house in Park City. It was your responsibility, your fault. Because here's the thing, gang, if the market hadn't collapsed, the economy hadn't collapsed, and that home had been worth $4 million as I anticipated it would when I ultimately sold it instead of $2 million, and I'd lost my shirt on it, I wouldn't be giving Bassam credit for it. I would have taken all the credit and the cash to the bank. But because I lost everything, it was his fault. See, here's the thing. I saw this meme recently on, I don't know if it was Facebook, Instagram, but it was a picture of the twins off of The Shining. And under the atop the first twin, it showed just the number 2020, and then next to the second twin, it showed the number 2021, as in the year 2021. In other words, 2021 was basically a replication of 2020, and then next to that second twin was the same exact young girl. And atop that was 2022. And I thought it was so interesting. Whoever posted that, their message was that 2022 was going to be exactly like 2021, because 2021 was exactly like 2022. In other words, it's going to be the same old thing. And I thought to myself, gosh, is that really the way that person who posted that is looking at their life and the world, and how counterproductive that is going to be for them? Because, gang, it goes back to the statement of, when I change the way I look at things, the things that I look at change. See, if you're expecting that if you're going to be successful in real estate, for example, that inventories have to increase, you're giving up control. That if you believe that the pandemic, whatever that means to you, has to go away before you can be successful, then you are giving up control. That if you believe that the way that you feel is based upon the actions of other people, then ultimately you're giving up control. So it goes back to what I said. When you look outside of yourself to assign responsibility, to find the solution, to find justification for what it is that you're experiencing, you give up control. So, number one, identify your blueprints and ask yourself this question. Number two, Are they serving me? Are they being helpful or are they being destructive? And then number 3, ask yourself this question, whether they're serving you well right now or they're not. Ask this question, how could I rewrite them so that they actually help me more? How is it that you can write them so that they give you a better outcome than you've already gotten or you're currently getting? See, gang, what I fundamentally believe is this, that the outcomes that we experience on a day-to-day basis have nothing to do with the actions of other people, with external forces. They have everything to do with the way in which we respond to those things. Any of us can be a Tina Hare or an Austin Kells. Any of us can be a Kathleen Bruno. The fact of the matter is, the question isn't, can we? The question is, how do we become that? See, if people can succeed at the level that any of the number of people that we've seen spotlighted today can, it's not a question of whether we can, it's only a question of how is it that they've done that? What is it that makes them different? See, the way we change our blueprints is by changing our principles, our philosophies, and our standards. In other words, we have to begin to mimic those who are successful. So what is it about your behavior that is different than theirs? I'm going to outline 4 specific things. What is it about your perspective on your purpose or your passion or your why? In other words, why is it every day that you get up and do what it is that you do? See, for the average person, the reason they get up is simply to survive. It's simply just to make enough money to get by. They're acting by habit, by just habitual rote repetition, by muscle memory. It's what I did yesterday, so therefore I'll do it today just to get by. See, most people have a very poor relationship, for example, with money. Most people have a very poor relationship with the world in terms of the way they see it, and they assign responsibility for their outcomes based upon what's happening in the world rather than the way in which they interpret it. So how are you looking at that? What is your relationship? What is your interpretation of your purpose, passion, and why? Have you identified it? The second thing is this, discipline. What's your relationship with discipline? How are you maintaining that? What are your principles, philosophies, and standards as it relates to discipline? So your purpose, passion, and why, your discipline. And then the third thing is your mindset. See, ultimately, the behavior that we take is dictated based upon the way that we think. The number one conversation, gang, that we are going to have with ourselves will always be the conversation in here. The number one conversation that we'll ever have is the conversation with ourselves. It's not going to be with our spouse. It's not going to be with our clients, our buyers or sellers. It's not going to be with our prospects. It's going to be with ourselves. Because the conversation we have with ourselves has everything to do with the way that we see ourselves and the way we see the world. It is so interesting that I remember when I got into this business of real estate, what I expected was going to happen and what I thought I would have to do and who I would have to be. What I realized is that so much of my success had nothing to do with what was happening in the marketplace and what other people did, but it had everything to do with what I believed and therefore the way I conducted myself. My number one lesson in real estate and in life is that if I will simply take responsibility to examine what my principles, philosophies, and standards are and stay close to those, that those won't fail me regardless of what's happening in the world. So if you want better results, whether you are a Kathleen Bruno or an Austin Kells or any of the other number of people who did exceptionally well, or those who didn't, ask yourself this question: what principle, philosophy, or standard do I hold that could be improved upon so that I get better results? Because it doesn't matter who you are, there's always room for improvement. So my question for you is, how are you going to rewrite your blueprint for 2022 to get the results that you want? See, gang, it isn't written anywhere. Nowhere. I challenge you to show me where it's written, where you can't have your best year in 2022, regardless of who's in the White House or out of the White House, whoever's in the governor's mansion or not in the governor's mansion, despite how many cases of COVID there are or not, or whether there's a mask mandate or not, or whether you can hold open houses or not. See, none of those things ultimately matter. And we have proof of that because we have people in our midst who experience the best results that they ever have, who just, if you take a look at, absolutely blow my mind in terms of what they're doing. And yet I know that it's all possible. So in closing, gang, the thing that I would ask you to recognize is this: believe in yourself, because your creator, our creator, has already put in you everything that you already need, the potential that you need in order to achieve everything that you want to achieve, whether it's with your relationships, with your health, or with your business. But what you have to recognize is that the solutions are within you, not without you externally. Because this is ultimately what happens. When you recognize that, you take control. There are two types of people in this world, gang. There are the victims and the victors. The victims are going to be those who point externally and will say it's those things on the outside, those elusive things that I can't change, that I can't catch, that cause my results. And then the victors, those are the people that say, it doesn't matter what's going on out there. I will simply recognize the principles, philosophies, and standards that I have to have, the things that I have to do in order to achieve the life that I want. And once you do that, you recognize that it's within you. See, it's the be, do, have. It's that if I want to have what a top producer has, then I have to do what a top producer does. And therefore, in the beginning, I have to be a top producer. And you can't be a top producer if you're not doing what they do and having what they have. They're intertwined. And it all starts with our blueprint. So I go back to, how do you see things? Do you believe that the world that you exist in is friendly or hostile? Do you believe that it is abundant or that it is scarce? And when you recognize that you're in control of that and you have a choice to choose friendly and abundant, then you unlock your potential and the universe potential. And like they say, it's, law of attraction, whatever. I don't want to get into the whole, rub-a-dub-dub redwood tub thing. It's not that. It's not ethereal. It's very basic that we get what we focus on. So gang, let's make certain in 2022, we focus on what we have control over. And it's what we're thinking here and what we focus on a daily basis in terms of what we believe. Because you're capable of being the top producer in this company. I don't care who you are. You're capable of doing that. You're capable of being in the intimate relationship that you want to be in, and you're capable of having your best body or your best mindset or your best attitude that you've ever had. You just simply have to take responsibility for that. Gang, I've enjoyed this conversation. It's always a little difficult to do this over Zoom, to not see you, not to get your reaction. I just want you to know this. I am so grateful for all of you and what you have done, who you are as professionals. I am very proud to be part of this family, this organization, and I consider it a privilege to lead you and to help you get to the next level. So thank you so much. Congratulations, and Mr. George Morse, it is your stage.
We on? All right. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Good to be with you. Got a little bit of a crowd in here. Jeremy Laguerre is back here making everybody laugh, be distracted. He's even a distraction to me, but we still love him, right? He's not even laughing about that. All right. Hey, so John, thank you for everything and everything you said. I was thinking about that, the story of your grandfather, and I was thinking about how you drove him everywhere. And man, what a great memory, what a great relationship. Of course, you know, controlling where we choose to put our focus and our blame in regards to just our lives and what we do. So great stuff. And congratulations to everybody who obviously has done extremely well. It's incredible fourth quarter. Of course, we have not released all 2021 awards yet, but we will coming up here pretty darn soon. And there's some great stuff happening and some great things that you guys are doing. With that being said, let me just give you a few quick stats. Number one is we sold $3.7 billion worth of real estate in 2021. So congratulations to you. $3.7 billion worth of real estate. The second thing is we actually paid over $88 million in commissions in 2021. So hopefully you got your share of those commissions, because a ton of it was paid out. And then the third thing I just wanted to share with you is that we sold just barely under 7,000 homes, like 6,900 and something homes. We sold nearly 7,000 homes between Utah and California. So congratulations to an amazing set of stats. But number two, thank you for what you are doing. And I know this, the is yet to come. With that, you know, one of the questions that continually keeps being asked is, where is this market going? Now, some of these things I've shared with you, but I just want to remind you, you know, how many of you are getting the answer where, you know, a buyer or a seller says, well, I'm going to wait for the market to continue to go up, and then you also get the question, which is, I'm going to wait for the market to go down, and or especially from the buying side. I'm just curious, how are you handling that? More importantly, how are you handling where they're saying the market is going down? And you know, you may be looking around and they keep saying, man, that something's going to happen, something's going to happen. But one of the things that we can look at right now, at least that we have a clear view of, is just a handful of little stats I want to give you that I think would be really helpful as you're moving through. Look, for 2022, I just want to make sure that you've got some great tools, some great information, and some ways in which to really battle in this marketplace that we are in. And I just know this, that if we can talk a little more smart, a little more intelligently, and with a little more conviction of what the market's doing, I think we have a really good play to be able to go to that next level and to be able to do the things that we need to do. So with that, let's just talk a little bit here first. First and foremost, is the market going down? Well, all the stats would tell you is that we're looking at the market to be rising across the country over 16% in 2022, which is also interesting in regards to all the other things that are happening. Right now, the average U.S. households that are created every single year because of the population gain, there's over 12 million households that are being created every single year. Now, when you think about that, now here's the scary part, or the good part for us in the industry that we're in, which is that 6 million homes are only being built per year. So we're seeing a huge rise, right? The pressures on rentals, the pressures on apartments, the cost of renting. We're seeing even people who are buying anything they can get their hands on, even with cap rates as low as they've ever been in the history of my last 30 years in this career, in this business. And so you start looking and saying, okay, now what's going to happen? Well, the challenge is that whether there's supply and demand issues at the ports or, you know, overseas, and the challenges of COVID and the pandemic, the reality is there is still a massive housing shortage that is going on. So we need to make sure that we're speaking to that, and we need to speak very intelligently to that. So if you consider the fact of that, then you take on top of the housing shortage, you take on the fact people say, well, wait, what if there was a terrorist attack? What if there was a major natural disaster? What if there was something else that happened in regards to like rates going up? Well, the reality is that for this group, rates going up or housing shortages in regards to natural disaster, and we know what happens when natural disaster occurs. It just creates a higher level of supply and demand, as we saw in New Orleans, as we saw in Houston over these last 10 to 15 years. There, with all the natural disaster that occurred there, we see sometimes some blips with terrorist type of things where maybe a month or two there's a slowing, but not enough to really change things. Then go back to the interest rate issue. Well, if interest rates go up, right, it might decline and push values down a little bit, but there's still a massive housing shortage. So that still means that there's going to be a number of homes that are going to continue to sell. So again, I go back to asking yourself, what would it be, what would take the market down? Well, for me, what would take the market down in my assessment, and this is just, again, my opinion, I wish I had a crystal ball to all of it, but that is that if the market stays good, it's because of job growth or job sustainability. So the most important aspect of what we're doing and working on from a standpoint of just the business is that we need to pay really close attention to what the job market is doing. Are we creating jobs, and is there a sustainability of jobs? Now, the other last thing I just might mention to this is that a lot of people said, well, yeah, but what about hospitality? You know, what about all the people who were out of work during the pandemic and the height of everything? Well, first and foremost, this isn't a criticism, but the housing market is not fueled by the hospitality industry. In reality, those are the people, the very few of them are the ones that are buying the houses out there. And we looked at the fact that if then the rest of the country stayed employed, the rest of the country, whether worked at home or inside their offices, but they were employed. And so the key factor to the success of our market is what is happening from a place of job growth and job stability. So when I'm speaking to anybody, because it's always asked, what do you think about the market? I would hope that the first question that you're asking people is, what do you think the market's doing? And when they say things like, I'm going to wait to buy when the market goes down, gosh, let's be bold enough to at least be honest with them enough to simply ask them the question, what is it that would make you believe that the market's going to decline? Because the fact is that there's not a lot of indicators that would say that it is. The housing shortage is real, gang. So whether someone buys something for a little too much or a little too less, or sells it for a little too less, that's not the ultimate problem. Because real estate has always been a home run. It's the fabric of the country. It's the fabric of America. It is the one sure bet that you can know that if you own something, eventually over time, no matter when you bought it, it goes up in value. Because there is a limitation to the amount of real estate that exists in the U.S. So get very, very smart about what you're talking about. Don't let a customer dictate the market as to what they think is happening. The reality is they don't know what's happening. And whether you've sold, if you've sold at least 5 or 6, 7 homes in your career, you have sold more homes than the average U.S. citizen will ever buy or sell in the history of their life. So if you've sold more than 5, 6, 7 homes, you've done more than that. You are the expert. So make sure that you're speaking intelligently to these things. Make sure that you're not just being, a puppet to the conversation. Allow yourself to lead people, to guide them, to direct them, because you have good information in relationship to that. And my observation is when I've had that conversation about the facts and using tools for not only last year, but this year, when the question is asked, where is the market going? It's not enough today to just say, it's good, it's great. And they say, well, I think it might go down, and you just answer back with, well, I don't know, maybe it will, we're not sure. That's not a good enough answer. Not for this group. Not for the greatest gathering of real estate professionals. Not the group of people that sold $3.7 billion worth of real estate. That's not you. So look, this entire year needs to be the year that so many of you led so appropriately the way in which you built your career last year, the way in which you maneuvered and you moved through COVID and the pandemic, the way in which you fought for your rights to be able to do what you do. The reality is that each one of us still has the ability and the necessary need, the stewardship, to be a great leader in the industry of real estate. Not only in real estate, but in our communities. And I've said this for years, which is the world is not in need of another great salesperson. It's in need of someone who's going to show up and lead and direct and guide people down a path to help them navigate the truest and best way to live their life, whether it be home ownership or many of the, obviously, our great lenders or loan officers on this call, or the title and escrow. Guys, as you move through this process, I'm just going to encourage you, find the tools to communicate. Find the tools and the ability to communicate at the highest level. So I remember years ago now, and I can say years ago because it was 2 years ago when COVID first really kind of hit the scene. And I can remember this conversation with a dear friend of mine and mentor. He said these 3 things. He said, you have a choice right now. And you have a choice right now. If there's ever been a choice, look, we're seeing all the emotions heighten again. We're seeing political process go down. We're seeing issues with economics. We're seeing people's personal freedoms in a challenge. We're seeing people's activities in a challenge. And wherever you're coming from, just like John said, whether it's political, whether it's your personal freedoms, whether it's for the quest for power, whether it's the quest for your own personal health and well-being, or whether it is the economics, whatever direction you're coming from, here's the reality. You have a choice today in this market. You can either come out of this pandemic exactly the same as you were a year ago, meaning just life existing and you just kind of get on and life kind of just rolls along and you're not really doing much. Or number two, you can come off far worse than you were after COVID, the pandemic, and all the things that we're consistently dealing with. Because gang, if you haven't realized, we're dealing with them again. Hence, this is why we're on a Zoom call, right? This is why we're doing this by Zoom, because we're dealing with it again. So I'm just reminded, I can either stay the same, I can get a little bit worse, maybe a little bit more negative, a little bit more angry, a little bit more fearful. I can get worse through this process. I'm capable, I know I'm capable of getting worse, or I can make a clear definition in my life that I'm going to get better through this COVID. So which one will you be? Are you going to be better off when you look back and go, wow, life is better because of everything I went through? The reality is look, you either will remain the same, you will get worse, or you will get better. But you've got to make sure that you make a declaration to yourself. You have a stewardship, not only to yourself, but to others. And you know what? It is the great tragedy of hearing and seeing people who have passed away from the complications or the add-ons to COVID. It is a tragedy, and it is scary. But I just want to challenge each one of you that you have a life to live. You have a life to live, and you have a life that is purposeful. And maybe it's just me, but I have a different perspective to everything with COVID. I look at the fact that many of you know, only 4 weeks ago I almost died in a hospital. I had my blood pressure at 220 over 113, or sorry, 210 over 113. It was crazy moments. Allergic to an antibiotic that I was on, vancomycin, some of you may know that. And the fact is that I looked and I reflected, thought, man, if this is going to be my last day, I'm going to live. I'm not going to try to prevent myself from dying. I'm going to live while I'm alive. And I have 14 distinct times where I've almost lost my life. And I kind of feel like, look, if the good man upstairs wants me, then it's my time. That's me. But I just want to challenge each one of you right now. Go live your life. Live it to the fullest and the most beautiful ways in which you choose to. And I'm not here to tell you what you need to do. I'm not here to tell you how many times you need to wear a mask. And I'm not here to tell you how many times you need to get a vaccine or the boosters. And I'm here to tell you if you should or shouldn't get vaccinated. That's entirely in your court. But what is ultimately also in your court is the way in which you respond to the pandemic, the way in which you respond to the tragedies and the challenges of life. Because here's the deal. Events and challenges are going to always happen. The question is how you respond will become the outcome of your life. That's the reality. And so one of the things that I really want to talk about, and I know it's been a hot button, if you've been around me even this week, I've been talking about it. But I just want to ask you, how are you dealing with the stresses of life? How are you dealing with the fear of life? Maybe it's the fear of COVID. Maybe it's the fear of death. Maybe it's the fear of whatever it may be, the fear of the business, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the market, the fear of whether you'll have your next deal. I don't know what those fears are, but how are you dealing with your fear? How are you dealing with the way in which you approach your life, in the stresses, the disappointments, the chaos, the frustration, the stresses that really, look, and stress, in other ways that we describe it, it is just simply fear. What are you doing and how are you maneuvering through what you're afraid of? Afraid of your own passing, maybe someone else's, maybe it's the fear of the market. All of these things are fears, and it's not to be taken lightly at all. What's to be taken so seriously is to ask yourself, how are you responding? So for me, just a few days ago, I told this story to a small group of people yesterday, or 2 days ago, or I guess it was yesterday, but I want to share it again. So here I am, I'm playing golf, I'm down in St. George, Utah, life is good, swinging the club, beating my son and son-in-law. It was a beautiful day. Just kidding, I don't know if I beat Dylan. I think he might have beaten me again. But my point is, it was a beautiful sunshiny day. And I was thinking about, man, you know what? Sometimes I have such a high expectation of how I think I'm going to play the game of golf, or high expectations of the amount of business I'm going to do, or high expectations of what I think my health is going to be, high expectations of what relationships are supposed to be. But have you considered the fact that when everything isn't met and all the expectations that you have you considered the fact that you could exchange those very expectations for the gratitudes of your life? As I reflected on hitting a bad golf shot, it was only a month ago where I was sitting in an ER, nurses and a doctor around me, stabbing me over and over again, trying to get my blood pressure to come down. I saw Jennifer off to the right of me, and I saw her with tears streaming down her cheeks because of the seriousness of the situation. And then I'm sitting here hitting a golf shot, and I'm mad about the golf shot. Can we just have some perspective as to where we're coming from? Gang, you have so much to be grateful for. You have so much to focus on in regards to your gratitude. And sometimes we get so finite in our thinking, and we begin to think that this is it. And I'm just here to tell you, I don't believe it is it. You got a whole life not only to live, but I also believe you're going to exist after this. And if that's the case, then start acting like you're an eternal being, because you are. Because anyone you talk to with any substance, and I believe who they are, knows that this isn't it. And if this is it, then you keep acting like it's it. But if you are a person of faith, as I am, then you begin to believe that you can speak, act, talk from a place of eternity. And if that is the case, then you have nothing to fear at this moment. And start acting in a place of faith versus fear. And start directing your thoughts from a place of faith, which are directed thoughts to a hopeful outcome, where fear is undirected thoughts not knowing what the outcome might be, because we start to manufacture all of them everywhere within ourselves. So each and every single one of us needs to move with a greater level of faith, a greater level of focus, recognizing that whether it be the media, whether it be the fear mongers, whether it be just living your own life, that there's enough fear out there that if you don't get serious about how you're going to approach it, you're going to live an incredibly unfulfilled life. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty dang committed to making sure that I don't go and live another year or two with a pandemic in a whole heck of a lot of fear. And if you don't get serious about how you're going to adjust that fear and turn that fear into gratitude, turn that fear into action, and create the stewardship for you, your family, and anyone that you have a chance to impact because of who you choose to be during these moments, that is your responsibility. And it's your responsibility to your clients, to your family, to your children, to your spouse, to operate from a place of faith. A place of faith, not fear, not anxiety, not cloaking it and calling it stress, frustration. It is just another word that you cloak from the standpoint that it is fear. And you do not need to fear. Period. You don't need to, but you choose to. But you don't need to, but you choose to. Remember what I just said. In that moment when you feel the fear, ask yourself, will you choose to be fearful, or will you choose to be light and bright and beautiful in the most even difficult of moments? It is a choice. And for some reason, habits, disciplines, rituals of our lives get us into a cadence of becoming negative, thinking that the worst is always going to happen. And we cloak it, by the way. You're the people who cloak it when you do these things. You say things like, I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm just trying to be truthful. I'm just trying to tell you what people won't tell you. Cut the crap, because that's not reality. The fact is you are fearful. And when you walk around fearful, so do other people. And you have nothing. Why? Because you are a person of faith, and you are going to believe that your outcome is sure, that you will be here tomorrow. And if not, do not waste any single moment, not even a moment of your life living in fear. Because if it's only a limited time, you've only got a little bit of time. And so that goes back to my golf. So I watched my son Isaac swinging the golf club, having a few bad shots, getting a little bit down, getting all sweaty in here, man. I'm getting worked up, Russ. Let's go. All right? So he's swinging the golf club, hits a few bad swings. I start beating him. Dylan starts beating him. Thank you very much. Dylan starts beating him, and then all of a sudden, in the process of that, he started getting a little bit down. I watched him get a little bit down. I thought, wow, that's interesting. What's wrong? He goes, I'm just not happy with my game. Okay. Can you exchange that for a little bit of gratitude? The sun is shining. You're in the red rock. You're on the grass. You're breathing air. You have this beautiful view. You get to be with your dad. Nothing's better, right? He didn't like that answer, by the way. And I said, look, you have a choice. And so I've been relentless on him on this. And I'm still, even last night, was bugging him about it. Because what he chose to do was not only take that moment and become down, dark, and dreary, literally, a heavy-hearted view of all of life because of a bad golf game. Then that turned into, you know what, he had a heart surgery a few months ago, and he had a few heart palpitations. So then he started getting anxious with that, started not breathing, started not doing the things he needed to do to expand his chest, to take deep breaths. So all of a sudden, to get into a panic. Then he's thinking something's wrong with his heart. Then his golf game's right. And then all of a sudden this spiral of heaviness, looking down at the ground, shoulders slumped down, talking almost not at all. And for someone who was almost always talking, kidding and joking. He became dark, empty, and depressed, and doom and gloomy. Later that night, up until about that night, we got home, we drove home, got home around 11 o'clock, and we were speaking till 12:15, just the two of us. And as I talked to him, I said, let me ask you a question. What do you really think is going to happen? He's like, I'm worried about my health. Great, you're worried about your health. So now what? Well, I'm thinking, he came clean. He goes, he got all choked up. He said, I think I might die. Oh, you think you might die? Okay. So let me ask you, if tonight is your last day, when you go to bed tonight and you believe that this is it, are you going to look back on that last day and go, man, I at least lived my life to its fullest? And he looked at me and goes, it's not that simple. Of course, it is, but we want to complicate it because many of you are going to say, well, George, you don't understand. And I can give you, and anyone can give you, the deepest levels of emotion, sympathy, compassion, empathy, and cry with you. Truly, put our arms around you. But in the end, you are responsible for the emotions that you experience. So the ultimate question here is, do you this year want to feel more emotions that are fearful or emotions that are ones of bliss, happiness, joy? And when you start to recognize internally that what you experience, the emotions that you choose to experience, are entirely up to you, then all of a sudden you start to take charge of your life. If you are so simply easily agitated by someone not moving fast enough in their car, or they are looking at a text on their phone and they don't start off on the light, or you're in the parking lot and you don't know which person, or someone steals your parking space, heaven forbid, as if you own the land. Right? I want you to think about how and what triggers you and what emotions do you go to. Someone doesn't do what you want them to do, doesn't say it the way you want them to say it, offends you, hurts you, lies to you, yells at you. How do you respond? Where do you go emotionally? Do you go to a place of anger, fear, stress, hatred? What emotion do you go to? On the flip side, there are people who, no matter what's going on, because they have a great center about themselves, they have a great love for themselves. And because they have a great love for themselves, there's essentially nothing that could offend them. Isn't that interesting? That they could never be offended. That when the crap is hitting the fan, they turn to a place of peace. They turn to a place of inwardly and look inwardly to find the peace, the happiness, the joy. Even in the midst of the most difficult moments, they find a place of peace. So how do they do that? What are some of the ways that you could do that? Are you catching yourself? Are you observing within yourself that you personally may be turning to emotions that are so not what you want to experience? When you hear things about COVID, what's your reaction? What's your emotion? Are you angry? Can't believe they're talking about this anymore. Or is your emotion different than that? Is it your fear? Is it you're just simply completely immune to it, meaning it doesn't bug you one way or the other? Like, how are you responding? How are you moving through these fears, these stresses? So just a couple of things that I would encourage you to do. Here's number one. Number one, get grateful. Guys, the gratitude and fear is the great antidote to all of it. And in the process of that, they're giving me more. I have, all right, guys, you can see my sweat coming down here. All right. But in the midst of that, can you find the gratitude? Can you find the happiness in that? Can you find something that you're grateful for? Can you speak to it? Can you talk to it? Can you feel it? Can you write it down? Can you feel the fear dissipate from you because of the gratitude? First thing, gratitude. Second, are you meditating? What does it mean for you to meditate? Meditation, like it's a conversation I have so often. Are you meditating? Are you taking the time? I meet people all the time who say, oh yeah, I tried meditation, it doesn't really work for me. I just can't get there. Well, what is meditation? Meditation is letting go. Right? If I was guiding you in a meditation right now, I would say, hey, close your eyes, put your feet firmly on the floor, open your palms, right? No death grips anymore. Take a deep breath, put your one hand on on your stomach, one over your heart, and just breathe. Don't try to control it, just breathe. Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, relax your neck, relax your stomach, and just let go for a moment. Breathe. That's what we would be doing. And we would move from that to then we would start saying, okay, wait a second here. What if I did that for a few minutes? Found my center, came to a place of gratitude, visualized and saw a brighter future, and then simply listened for answers and direction to what to do next. That's great leadership for your own life. You're going to have problems. You're going to have tragedy. You're going to have challenges that happen left and right. My statement to you is, how are you going to control that? Because some of you are so committed to fear, so committed to feeling angry, so committed to being stressed out, so committed to wanting to let fear dictate the future. But when you are a person of faith and belief that is dictated by you, all of a sudden you start directing your life very, very differently. And I just want to challenge each one of you to live the life that you're destined to live, to feel the joy that life will be and can be every day of your life, not just in real estate, not just in the business, but in every moment of the business and every moment of your life. Look, challenges will come and go, but I want you to have more days that are better and less days that are not so good. And I'm not telling you to not grieve. I'm not telling you to not be sad. What I'm telling you is, do you want to stay there? Do you want to stay there and remain there? And the answer is, I know that no one who is, they all say, no, I don't. Okay, so now what tools are you going to use to get out of there? Right? Are you going to be grateful? Are you going to meditate, visualize? Are you going to write in your journal? Are you going to read, write, listen to the right things? All of these avenues in which you can build a fortress of faith for your life is what I'm challenging you to do. Because it will be a challenge, gang. It will be tough. Because it's a lot easier to be negative. It's a lot easier to be pessimistic. It's a lot easier to finger point. It's a lot easier to blame. Because it takes a lot of work to have the courage to step forward, to set your ego aside, to set your fears aside, to set your injuries aside, and saying that I am going to live a life in a space of beauty, light, joy. That's the difference. And when you show up to list a home, or when you show up to help someone buy a home, they're going to follow you because they are attracted to the light. And anyone knows it when someone is walking through life with a great deal of fear, you feel it. Just like the dog can feel and sense the fear, you don't think people can? We are wired at levels that you can't even begin to imagine, no, none of us can imagine. And we sense essentially everything. We may not be able to put our finger on it, but we feel it. And if you're walking around being scared and fearful, I promise you others are feeling it too. And do you not have a stewardship to rise so far above that? Guys, in closing, now that means we might be just another 5 or 10 minutes. I just want to point that out to all of you, okay? All right, but in closing, I just want you to think about a few things. What tools are you going to use to get to where you want to be? And just what if this year you chose that in wherever you go, wherever you are in this business, that you choose to give your very best? What would happen? And have you gotten familiar enough with all of your dreams, your goals, and your aspirations of life? Have you gotten so familiar that when you achieve them, they will not even be foreign to you? I want you to think about that one for a minute. Are you so familiar with your dreams, goals, and your most sacred aspirations that when they are achieved, you aren't even that surprised because you got so familiar with them? Look, I've told this story who knows how many times, hundreds if not a few thousand times. But the story is so short. Just as a reminder, right? Sir Edmund Hillary, the top of Mount Everest, doesn't even take a picture of himself. Snaps a shot of Tenzing Norgay, the Sherpa who got him up there. The two of them descended. Of course, there was great celebration. A reporter down at base camp asked this question. Edmund, what was it like at the top? He said, oh, it was just like I had imagined 10,000 times before. Now, isn't that profound? Now, think about that. When you have something happen in your life, the wealth that you've assembled, the car that you drive, the home that you may live in, the dreams that you may accomplish, are they so familiar with you that you aren't even in question that they happened? Because you were so clear, you saw so clearly the vision, you gained the skill sets, the abilities to maneuver through that, and then you move from that to the actions that were necessary. The antidote to your dreams, not to your fear, but to your dreams, what gives the cure to all dreams is your discipline. It is your discipline as to what you do and what you choose to do every day. So remember, just a few reminders. Control your mindset, number one. Number two, gain the skills that are necessary. Stop acting like, you don't need more skill sets. Stop thinking that scripts and dialogues and practicing and role-playing aren't important. You're not above it. You're only above it because you have a limitation, the amount of money and the amount of ego that you're willing to release. Ask yourself, really, what needs to happen? If I got the right mindset, the right skill sets, and then I was unwavering in my disciplines of who I called, who I talked to, and that I made every day a priority of my prospecting, whether it be through the phone or through the door. The fact is that if you did those three things every single day, and you maneuvered a life of mindset, skills, and personal disciplines, there's no dream this year that you wouldn't achieve. There's no goal that you couldn't hit. There's no amount of money you couldn't earn in the game of real estate. But if you allow your fear to overcome you, you allow your desire to looking good, which is just another way to cloak fear. If you're just not saying, if you say things like, I'm just not into prospecting, what it is you're not into rejection. You're not into being feared. You're worried about what people will say. You're worried about what they might do because it's wrapping your world in a nice, tidy little bow of fear. And that cannot be this group. Look, this group is a beacon of leadership. It is what it is wired to do. It is where people come to learn how to earn money. It is what they do every single day to manage the successes of their lives. It's where you see people like the Trish Perez's who go from when they first joined the company to a couple $100,000 to nearly $1 million this year. To the Kathleen Brunos who are earning $100,000 to $200,000 when I first met her, to earning well over $1 million this year. It's the Tina Harris that when I met her, she was earning $700,000, $800,000, where she made over $3 million this last year. It's when I meet someone like a Dave Parker, where he's earning almost no money and has a full-time job at Discover Card. And what happens? He's making well over $1 million+ a year and one of the most successful, if not the #1 team in the world for Century 21. And how does that happen? It happens because leadership is your stewardship. Leading and being in an environment where you can learn to lead, to not limit yourself, to not look and feel and work in a place of scarcity of how much can you save on a transaction. Man, get serious about how many deals you can do. Instead of worried about how much you can save every single deal, means save on the commission, oh, I could go here and save a little less. Why don't we learn how to do so much business that it doesn't matter, that it is this great relationship to what we all do together. Stop chasing money. Stop chasing economics. If you will get into the habit of chasing how to be an extraordinary leader, all of the money you could ever need and want will be there. It's not the leads. It is not the leads. It is not your split. It is not the market. It is not the pandemic. Because some people in the midst of all of that have had some of the most brilliant, amazing years of their life. The list goes on and on from last year. From Jessica Terry to Amy Cook to this last quarter, Austin Kales beating every single person in the company with $925,000 in 3 months. And yet when I sat with Austin Kales, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, he was earning $125,000, maybe $150,000, and I still will never forget his statement. George, I just don't know if I can do it again. I mean, who knows? And today, here's a guy making well over $1 million who was in question of earning a 6-figure income. You cannot debate the fact that Everest is built to help you to become a better leader. And if you fight that, then why are you here? This is about leading at the highest level that you possibly can bring your life to. It's about knowing that one man or one woman can make all the difference in the world. It's about recognizing that when you walk through the door, you're able to say to people, step aside, I'm here. It's going to be okay. Because that's what great leaders do. Great leaders understand that they have a stewardship and responsibility. And even when days they don't feel like leading, they lead. And they lead in a good, positive way. Not through fear, not through intimidation, not through force, not through put-downs, not through condescending comments, not through backbiting, not through manipulation. They move through love, kindness, gentleness, passion, energy, light, love. That's what great leaders do. So you sit back and you say, well, I hope that I can sell 5 or 6, 8 homes a year. Come on. Get way past that. You're better than that. You're better than that for just you, even if it was just for you. Wouldn't it be cool to just really know what is possible for me? What could I do? People ask me, well, why do you have such a big company? Because I wanted to see if it could be done. Well, what's the number for you? What's the number? What's the economic number? What's the number of deals? Isn't there something inside of you that says, man, enough. I'm going to figure out what I'm capable of. The most, I'm going to give my most of everything I have to figure out what I'm capable of. You figure that out, you can have it all. And whether that be your health, whether that be the relationships, what if you gave everything into those relationships? What if you forgave yourself? What if you forgave everyone else? What if you forgave your parents? What if you walked through the life with a forgiving heart? How much more brighter and lighter? Who is it that you need to forgive? Who is it that you need to let go? Who is it that you need to say, it's okay, I forgive you? Even when they don't say they're sorry. That's even more powerful and compelling as a leader. That's what Everest is about. Everest is about this one principle, becoming the very best version of you. And if every day that I live and every day that anyone in this organization lives, it is the desire to help another human being become better than they were before. And I'm not here to tell you that you're broken. You're not. We're all broken. We're all injured. We've all been hurt. We've all been abused. We've all had tragedy. Some of us more than another. Some of it you wish no one would ever have to experience. But in the end, I can promise you that you can rise above it if you will use the tools and the strategies and the systems that are available to you. So as I said to my son Isaac, Isaac, there's not lazy people in the world. Most people just aren't lazy. They're just unresourceful. He told me how he was dealing with his anxiety, the panic, the heart, the pressure of baseball, all of it. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I meditate. I said, when? He said, at night. I said, I commend you for that, but that's not enough. That's it. I said, what else are you doing? Like all great teenagers, he shrugged his shoulders and went, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And that is what he did. And yet, today, just so you know, I will send him a list, and he's written it down before, of all the things he could do to protect himself, his soul, his mind, his heart, from everything, all the panic, the stress, the strain, the fear, which is, again, yes, meditate, yes, pray, yes, commune with you and your Creator, yes, read, yes, study, yes, ponder, yes, think, listen to the right things, spend time with the right people, get coached, participate, make sure you show up at Climb either virtually or in person here in Salt Lake City on January 25th. You got Dylan and others calling. Guys, make it a priority to getting involved and recognizing that you don't have to be unresourceful. And if you will use the resources to take your game and your life to the next level, there is nothing that you cannot achieve in this business. Everything about this business can be learned, and everything about this business can be done. And there is no exclusive club. I don't care how bad it has been, your current circumstances or your past do not equal your future. Now officially in closing. Now we're closing. Everybody take a deep breath. If you haven't, I'm looking at Chris and Leslie and Jose there. Got a bunch of people. Some of you have permanent smiles. You really must love what I'm saying. Just kidding, it's your picture. But I just want to point out, look, I just want you to recognize that look, my passion comes from a deep, deep-rooted belief in the possibility of people. And if there's anything that maybe I could have invested a little bit more in real estate over these many years, and maybe I could have invested in more stocks or bonds and real estate, etc. But I've chosen to invest in people. And what I've seen from people is that they can truly become their very best. And people who think they can't, they may be right because they believe it, but the reality is it's just not true. The truth is that you can become your very best. The truth is you can win the game, and the truth is that I can see it every day in any one of you that I meet. The real question is that will you commit today to becoming your very best? Will you commit today to doing what's necessary to winning the game of real estate? I hope that you will. Look, 2022 is going to be a great year. It's going to be a year of highs and lows. I hope there are more highs for you than lows. I hope that you'll take the challenges of building a life that is protected against all the fears, against all of the moments that can take you sideways, and that you'll build a fortress of faith around your life, that you are believing in your future, you're believing that your best is yet to come, and that it will be an extraordinary story. Truly, I believe that, gang. Your best is yet to come. Know how much you are cared for. Know how much love we have for you. Know that every meeting, every book, everything I read, everything I attend, it is all on the basis of simply, how can we help you? And that is ultimately what I want to have happen. I want you to become your very, very best. Guys, have a great rest of the month. Let's have a great year. Let's get dialed in. I hope this has been helpful. Congratulations again to all of you. Excited to see hopefully many of you in Hawaii, and hopefully we'll be live in our next event in person. But go live your life. Go live it at the level that you're capable of, because it is your destiny. And build a fortress of faith around you so you can live the life that you're destined to live. All right, guys, have a great night, great day, great afternoon, whatever it is for you, and we'll talk soon.